Let's get our daily 5,000 steps together. Join me for today's walk through Knott's Berry Farm. No matter where you are, you can get your 5,000 steps. The goal is to make hitting 10,000 steps a day simple, realistic, and actually interesting. The reality is that most of us already walk about 5,000 steps just living life. It's the other 5,000 that need to be intentional. That's what will guarantee hitting the 10,000 step goal that will help you get fit and stay fit. Every video in this series is designed to help you hit those intentional steps. Welcome to a journey through time, the story of how a humble family berry farm grew into one of America's most beloved theme parks, Knott's Berry Farm. This is a tale of vision, persistence, and creativity, and of how one man's imagination helped shape the modern amusement park. It's also a story of friendship and influence between two of Southern California's most iconic dreamers, Walter Knott and Walt Disney. Over the next 5,000 steps, we'll explore how Knott's Berry Farm came to be, how it evolved, and why its legacy still matters today. In the early 1920s, Southern California was still largely rural, acres of citrus groves, ranches, and dirt roads stretching between Los Angeles and the coast. Into this landscape came Walter and Cordelia Knott, a hardworking couple with a dream and very little money. Walter rented a small plot of land in Buena Park and began growing berries. Cordelia, ever resourceful, made jams and pies to sell from a roadside stand. At first, it was just a way to get by, a modest operation called Knott's Berry Place. But fate had other plans. The turning point came when Walter discovered a rare hybrid berry created by horticulturist Rudolph Boysen, a cross between a blackberry, a raspberry, and a loganberry. The plants had been nearly forgotten, but Walter nursed them back to life. The result was something new and extraordinary, the boysenberry. That berry didn't just save the Knott family farm, it gave them an identity. By the early 1930s, America was in the depths of the Great Depression. Farming profits were thin, and the Knotts needed a new idea. Cordelia decided to serve home-cooked fried chicken dinners in a small dining room attached to their berry stand. The food was simple, yet extraordinary: crisp chicken, mashed potatoes, and fresh boysenberry pie. Word spread fast. Lines stretched down the road. Families drove for miles, sometimes waiting hours to get a table. And that's when Walter had an epiphany. If people have to wait, why not give them something interesting to see while they do? That single thought planted the seed for what would become America's first true theme park. While guests waited for dinner, Walter began adding attractions. First, small curiosities, then larger and more ambitious scenes. He was fascinated by the pioneer spirit and the history of the Old West. He began collecting authentic artifacts, stagecoaches, tools, even entire buildings from abandoned mining towns and homesteads. Bit by bit, Ghost Town was born. It definitely wasn't flashy, it was dusty and real. Visitors could watch a blacksmith at work, chat with a grizzled sheriff, or ride a stagecoach pulled by real horses. Walter wanted to preserve a vanishing piece of American life, and at the same time entertain his guests. The result was something unprecedented, not just an amusement area, but a themed environment built around a story. Long before Disneyland existed, Knott's Berry Farm had already created the concept of immersive storytelling through architecture and design, and visitors loved it. By the 1940s, the farm had become more than a restaurant stop, it was a destination. Ghost Town continued to grow. There were shops, shows, and rides, each one carefully designed to fit the frontier theme. Unlike traveling carnivals or fairs, this was a permanent, cohesive world. You didn't just visit Knott's Berry Farm, you entered it. Historians often credit Walter Knott with inventing the idea of the modern theme park, a place where every building, attraction, and experience fits into a unified story. It's no exaggeration to say that Knott's Berry Farm paved the way for every theme park that came after. Enter the 1950s. Walter Knott unveiled one of his greatest creations, the Calico Mine Ride. It featured a massive mountain facade and an underground train adventure that took guests through glowing caverns and animatronic mining scenes. This was no simple roller coaster. It was an experience complete with lighting, sound effects, and elaborate sets. The Calico Mine Ride became a landmark in themed entertainment design. In fact, its designer, Bud Hurlbut, worked closely with Walter Knott to perfect it years before Imagineers coined the term dark ride. Even Walt Disney himself took notice. When Disneyland opened in 1955, just a few miles away, Walt and his team were regular visitors to Knott's. They admired how Walter used storytelling, theming, and practical effects to draw people into another world. Knott's and Disney parks would influence each other for decades to come. Rivals, yes, but also creative, kindred spirits. It's easy to think of Walter Knott and Walt Disney as competitors, but in truth, they were friends and even collaborators. They shared a deep respect for one another's work. Walter admired Walt's imagination and attention to detail, while Walt respected Walter's authenticity and entrepreneurial grit. Stories tell of Walt visiting Knott's to study the layout of Ghost Town and the Calico Mine Ride, taking inspiration for Disneyland's Frontierland, and later for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. The two men often spoke about the future of entertainment and the power of storytelling. Both believed that history, whether American folklore or frontier life, could inspire joy and wonder for generations. When Disneyland opened, it didn't destroy Knott's business. In fact, it boosted it. Families who visited Disneyland often made a second stop at Knott's to see the original. Two dreamers, two parks, and one region that would become the theme park capital of the world. Through the 1960s and 70s, Knott's Berry Farm continued to evolve. New attractions appeared: the Timber Mountain Log Ride, the Calico Railroad, Camp Snoopy, and high-flying roller coasters. Yet the park's heart remained rooted in its ghost town past. Walter Knott himself was still active in the park well into his 80s. He could often be seen strolling through, greeting guests, or discussing plans with craftsmen and builders. When he passed away in 1981, he left behind not just a business, but a living monument to creativity and family enterprise. His children carried on the vision, expanding the park, maintaining the restaurant, and continuing to serve Cordelia's recipes. In the late 1990s, the Knott family made the difficult decision to sell the amusement park operations. In 1997, the Cedar Fair Entertainment Company became the new steward of Knott's Berry Farm. Under Cedar Fair, the park expanded its lineup of thrill rides and seasonal events while preserving its historic core. Today, the park balances nostalgia and adrenaline: wooden facades alongside steel roller coasters, boysenberry pie besides towering loops of track. It's a rare blend, the rustic charm of history coexisting with the excitement of modern amusement design. Even as the park changes hands and generations passed, one thing never disappeared: the boysenberry. Every spring, Knott's holds its famous Boysenberry Festival, celebrating the fruit that started it all. There are pies, jams, sauces, drinks, and entire menus built around that sweet, tangy flavor. I've been, and I can attest, it's delicious. The boysenberry is more than just a food item, it's a symbol. It represents ingenuity, perseverance, and the spirit of turning something small into something extraordinary. In a way, the berry and the park share the same story. Both began as experiments, and both blossomed into legends. What really sets Knott's Berry Farm apart isn't just its rides or its food. It's the sense of authenticity that runs through everything. While many parks rely on fantasy, Knott's built its world on memory. It's a place where the Old West, the frontier, and the American pioneer spirit come alive through tangible artifacts and living history. Many of the original buildings in Ghost Town were salvaged from real 19th century structures. Each one carries the marks of use and time, not replicas, but actual remnants of genuine history. That's what gives the park its character: the creak of wooden floors, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the smell of boysenberry jam in the air. It's a place where nostalgia isn't manufactured, it's preserved. Knott's Berry Farm deserves a unique place in entertainment history. It was the first theme park to merge storytelling, architecture, and live experience into one continuous environment. Walt Disney refined those ideas, of course, and scaled them globally, but Walter Knott was the pioneer who proved they could work. From the hidden queue designs of the Calico Mine Ride to the idea of using history as a theme, Knott's innovations continue to influence theme parks worldwide. If Disneyland is the dream of imagination, Knott's Berry Farm is the dream of authenticity, a celebration of the real stories that built America. From a dusty berry stand to a world-famous theme park, Knott's Berry Farm has traveled a remarkable road. It's a story about faith in an idea, the courage to experiment, and the power of family enterprise. Walter and Cordelia Knott didn't set out to create a landmark. They simply followed their passion, step by step. A few berries, a few chicken dinners, a few frontier buildings. And from those humble beginnings grew a legacy that's still alive nearly a century later. Knott's Berry Farm isn't just a park, it's a story, one written in wood, dust, laughter, and of course the taste of boysenberry pie. Next time you hear the whistle of a steam train, smell fried chicken, or see a bottle of boysenberry jam, remember the story of Walter Knott and the farm that became a legend. Thanks for joining me on this 5,000 step tour. Subscribe for more interesting tours while you get in your 5,000 intentional steps.